I am one of the whitest black men you're ever likely to meet. Right now, there are reasons for that, which are sort of choice.
Hello, Sunny Bonani, beautiful people. Welcome back to another episode of Black History Month. It is the month of October, and this is the month where in the United Kingdom they celebrate Black history. And as you know, we have invited our favorite Black comedians in the UK circuit to come and share their thoughts on Black history. We get to know them better, and today I have one of the great comedians from the UK circuit, and I want you to welcome him with a big round of applause as if he's walking onto the stage. And as he introduces himself, please do let us know where you are watching from. It'd be nice to know who is watching and where you are watching from.
How you doing? You all right?
I am good. Thank you so much for agreeing to do this with us.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much. It is Black History Month in the UK.
Yeah.
Gerry, what does Black History Month mean to you?
Wow, this is a big question. I thought about this because obviously you told me the sort of things we were going to talk about, and oh God, it's a difficult one because of my background, which I guess we'll talk about soon, right? But because of my background, I almost hate to say this, but I have to be real. I am one of the whitest black men you're ever likely to meet. Right now, there are reasons for that, which are sort of choice. It's not, it's not that I'm choosing to be that way. We are a product of our environment, right? And so, when I think about Black History Month, my views on it, I don't have that many feelings about it for the reason I just said. Do you know what I mean? I have some feeling about it because I am clearly a black man, right? But my upbringing, everything is very English. Therefore, whilst I'm all too aware of Black History Month, of course I am, I perhaps tend not to be as invested in it and know as much about it, the month, not our history, as should be, could be. Do you know what I mean? So my feelings about it are quite fresh in that respect. I've almost forced myself to get more in touch with it than I naturally would have because of the way I look. Does that make sense?
Yes, it makes a lot of sense because when I first came here, I didn't know about UK. I'm from South Africa, and I didn't know about Black History Month in the UK. I knew of the one in February in America. And for me, it was always, why just 1 month? And why Black History Month, but no White History Month? Does it mean they have their history acknowledged and celebrated the whole year, but the black one is only given 1 month? And then when I came here to the UK, it confused me even more. But after living here, I realized that people are individuals, because black people who grow up in the UK are totally different from black people who live in the USA. And you, being someone who lives in the UK, also, we know that even someone from Birmingham is different from someone from London. And then within London, there are people who come from different households and different backgrounds. And there are people from the Caribbean. There are people with different religious beliefs. So saying black people, expecting black people to all have the same feeling towards something would be wrong. So it's interesting to hear about your story and your views on Black History Month. Because seriously, if it, like my son, he didn't grow up in South Africa, he goes there to visit. So if I were to ask him about Heritage Day, he doesn't know it. He didn't grow up around it. It means nothing to him. Even though as a parent, I can teach him, I can tell him, but because he didn't grow up around that culture.
Yeah. I think that the one thing I do feel strongly about when you talk about, why just 1 month, which is something I hear a lot, and I do feel strongly about that. I feel strongly that everybody's history, should be part of the syllabus. I think from children in primary school, when you talk about history, it should be global history, not just local history. If you want to study local history, by all means, you can do what you like, obviously. But for me, it should be as intrinsic as English and maths are in part of the syllabus of children, world history. And the benefit of this is, and I feel I can explain this by giving a very clear example. So I live in Essex, and maybe it was last summer. I was walking through a local park. Now, okay, Essex is, 40 miles from London, where I live. It's relatively close to London. It's not. It's not like an outback village. Do you know what I mean? Miles away from everything. Anyway, there was a white man, probably 65, and he was with, I'm presuming, his grandson, and the child was maybe 8. Anyway, just walking along, and the child saw me, and he said, quite loudly, innocently, "Oh, granddad," or whatever he called him. I thought black people only lived in black countries. That's what he said. Now, this child was, like I say, he wasn't 3. Do you know what I mean? He was at least 8 years of age, right? It's 2000 or 2002 as it was then, and it's Essex. And I just thought, how can that child, from 0 to 8, he's been through the school system, how can this child believe that for a minute? Because he's seen television. Do you know what I mean? He's seen sport. He's seen music. He's seen people. How can this child? He's gone to school. So how can this child, for any single moment? And I thought, right there, whilst I wasn't offended by it, of course, he wasn't being offensive. But what it made me think was, one of the problems I've realised over the years with prejudice, it's obviously education, but it's the thought that whoever you are, in this case we're in England, so I'm just going to talk we. I'm going to say we as English, right? We feel that we were there first. We were first. So therefore, everyone else that comes in is a stranger, is an interloper, right? And I think that's an important thing for everybody, wherever they are in the world, to understand that this is the world. We all live in it, right? Where we are born we didn't choose that. It's an accident of birth where all of us were born, right? And therefore, so no one is an interloper. So, every child in this country should realise that there are English people who are white, black, South Asian, East Asian, etc., etc. And for me, that is an important part of the syllabus, the educational syllabus. Because that is a whole problem. People thinking that this is ours, this is us, and everyone who doesn't look like us is invading us, is an interloper. Whereas no. Within us are me, you, blah blah blah. Do you know what I mean? And that just really hit home. So when you asked me about Black History Month, I thought, okay, I'm not sure about my views on Black History Month, but I do believe that Black history, all history actually, should be part of the syllabus, as important a part of the syllabus as English and maths are. That's a very long-winded way of answering your question.
That is so interesting about your experience, because I do believe that as parents, we also have a responsibility to expose and educate our children, because it did have something similar happened to me when I took my son. We went to South Africa. I was quite young at the time. He was born here before we went to South Africa, and it would have been about 4 or 5. And we're sitting in a restaurant, because these are things as parents we ignorant about, because we're just so used to them. But children are more observant.
Yeah.
We're just sitting in a restaurant and we having breakfast. And as an innocent child, he asked a question that made the white women on the table next to us get up and leave their breakfast.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Because he said, in South Africa, how come all the black people are working and white people are either shopping or eating?
Yeah.
And in South Africa, it is truly that way. If you are in a shopping mall, black people are working in the shops, they are cleaning, they are serving you, and then white people are there to enjoy themselves. But that's an observation I had never had, because for me, that was normal. That's how I grew up. That's how things happen. Just like when I first came to the UK, I was shocked. Actually, I was shocked when I first went to the USA to see white men like doing labor, digging the
Right.
road. We don't
Mm.
see. I thought it was a Hollywood movie. I went and to stand next to them, hoping to feature myself as an extra in this Hollywood movie, but it doesn't happen where I come from. So that child was not coming from a place of
No,
prejudice, I assume, like
absolutely.
just like you said.
Mm.
But I think it's so important to not just rely on the school system. And as a
Mm.
result, I've made sure that I my son knows and sees black people in different professions
Yes,
so that
yes,
he doesn't grow up thinking. Because imagine that child who grows up in South Africa in the township. That's how we end up with imposter syndrome. Because you've
yes,
never seen a black person who
absolutely,
does that. So you
absolutely.
end up thinking this is what we do.
Mm.
And like the first time, also one of the first times, I think it was the same trip because he was so young, but he made me realize a lot of things because he would ask things like, I don't like South Africa. And for me, I think, why would you not like South Africa? The houses are nicer, the weather is good.
Mm.
It feels like we are in prison. All
Mm.
the houses have regular bars.
Yeah,
All the
yeah,
houses have high wall fences. Everyone is carrying a gun because even security guard, like most houses, gated
yeah,
estate, you see a security. And then it dawned on me that in England, I haven't even seen a policeman
with a gun.
carrying a gun. And in
Mm.
South Africa, you see guns like everywhere. You
Yeah.
enter a shopping mall, everyone's carrying a gun. And every house has
Mm.
protection. It's an alarm system, it's backlock guard. So the environment where we grow up
Mm.
can
Yeah.
shape our thinking.
Yeah, no, absolutely that. Yeah, as you say, and you're right. As parents, we also have duty to and it works both ways. By the way, it's important. I mean, it's funny when you talk about imposter syndrome, and it was interesting because since the whole George Floyd thing, it's very evident on TV. If you watch in the ad breaks, it's very evident that the amount of black faces you get, black in particular, certainly people of color faces you get in the ads, and it raises a couple of points because I was at a gig once and this white guy who's married to a black woman said to me, he said, how do you feel about the number of black people that are suddenly in the ads, sort of thing. And I knew what he was saying. I got it, right? Because it is a bit strange, all of a sudden, But it raises a couple of points. So the first point it raised with me was I realised that going back to my upbringing, I think often my first thought is that of firstly, it's that of a person, but it tends to be of the environment that I was brought up in. So
Yes.
I'm almost apologetic, and I admit this. I had to admit this to myself. So
Mm,
I'm almost looking through a white person's eyes. I'm looking through the eyes of the kind of people I grew up with, who
yes.
were, in the main, not bad people, but quite small-minded people, right? And I, in ways, have that within me. So I'm seeing all these black people on the ads, and I'm thinking, it's a bit uncomfortable, all these black people. That's what I'm thinking. That's what, do you know what I mean? And I had to sort of correct myself because I'm just thinking through their eyes. And then I realized, and I thought about this, I thought, no, 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 no. Then I remembered that encounter I had with the guy in the park that I was just telling you about. And I thought, well, all this kid sees on TV, the only black people he sees then are probably playing sport in music videos, basically not just doing everyday things. And little kids growing up in this country, around the world, all they will see is black people doing either sport, entertainment, just not everyday things, right?
Mm,
And I thought, yes, actually, this is why you need to have black people in these adverts, just doing normal things, just getting up for school, making a coffee, going to do a regular job, just doing normal things. So these kids, like this kid, realize, oh, everybody can do everything and everybody does everything. Do you know what I mean? Rather
mm,
than this group of people do that, this group of people do that. And yeah, so it just made me think very differently. It made me have a look into myself, actually. Do you know what I mean? I had an introspective look and realized that, yeah, I'm thinking, going back to your products for your environment, although I look like this, my initial thought is that of a little Englander, which was quite interesting.
mm. But it is true because personally, I grew up in apartheid South Africa, and I have a lot of black and white South African friends now. But I grew up around black people, no white people. And what I've realized about the conditioning of the environment is that at the end of apartheid, the big thing that was a sign of success and intelligence was speaking English and moving to a white area, because we grew up in segregated South Africa,
Yeah.
where black people were not even allowed. Not you can't afford, you're not allowed by law to buy there. Even if you were to win $1 billion, you cannot buy there. It's for white people. It's for Indian people. It's for colored people who are mixed race people for us. Or then it's for black people. So I've noticed that we are different than other Africans who grew up in free countries, in that we run away from each other. We take pride in being the only black person. We take pride in being the only black person in the neighborhood, because the more of us are there, it means you're not that successful amongst your peers. Whereas other Africans, you go to areas, Nigerians are here. They live together. They call each other. They attract each other to the same areas. They have their own churches. Ethiopians are here. Jamaicans are here. Whereas with us, and I was actually, I talk about this a lot with my friends, because sometimes if people will even get upset when they see another black person in their professional space. Whereas for me, I like that. I celebrate that. Like how when we first met, it was just so nice to see another black person. And with the environment that brings you up comes your thinking, because it forms your thinking. Because in South Africa, people really, like, they will even tell you, if you ask them, how was the hotel? Oh, it was the best. I was the only black person there. And I'm like, but we must open these spaces. Don't be happy to be the only black person. Where were other black people? Ask yourself, how come they can't get there? Do they know about it? Why are you hiding information from your own people?
No, absolutely. I mean, and I think we suffer from that. I mean, my wife and I, we moved to the area that we now live in. So we moved from London. We live out in Essex in the countryside, and we jokingly, we sort of when we saw a few black people around, we would sort of make the joke, and it's a joke, we made a joke. Oh my God, there's too many black people here. We'll have to move. That was. Do you know what I mean? It was like, oh my God, yeah,
That's why
yeah,
it's so important to see us doing different things, because even with movies, we see the black people fighting, we see them shooting each other, we see them, and it becomes a problem, because when I'm walking at night, if I see a group of white people, I'm not scared, even though they took all my inheritance
yeah,
from Africa. But if I see a group of black people, I'm more alerted.
yeah. I'm so pleased. I'm so pleased to hear another black person say that, because I feel exactly the same. And I hate that I do, but I do. Um, and this is another thing, isn't it? This is a whole new. But we need to change that as well. I say we as a people as well. The perception. When I talk to, I was speaking to my nephew a little while ago. My black nephew, and we were talking about the perception. I'm just going to talk about this country because that's all I know about. The perception of young black boys in this country, and just going on to what you were saying there. Unfortunately, I think the majority of people, we don't know, but I'll stake my life on it. When faced with a group of white boys or a group of black boys, would feel more fear, intrepidation, concern about the group of black boys. Now, that in itself is wrong, obviously, because it's a prejudice, right? But I think let's be real about it. I don't know. Is it our prejudice because, or in my case, is it my prejudice because I'm thinking with the Little Englander, or is it a prejudice born of experience? I don't know.
It is, in a way, a bit of prejudice, because it's self-prejudice as well, but that's born out of the experiences. Because For example, a good example, let me know what you think of this. We get a lot of Africans who come here to do care work. Just like you get people who are doctors back home come here, do jobs that are below standard, but they pay better than they would earn as a doctor at home, and they're okay to do it, which is fine.
Yeah.
And then you get people who come here as care workers. They've never done care work at home. Maybe they were an accountant. They can't find that job here. They end up doing care work because they earn more than they would earn at home as an accountant. That's fine. Now, what I like to ask them, and I've always only gotten the same answer, because I always say they work for BBC, British Bum Cleaners. And so I always ask them, would you do the same thing at home? No, no way. I would never. If you got a job, because a lot of them do live in work or work in care homes, if you got a job and the care home was full of Black elderly women, would you take the job? Never. And I'm like, but one day you expect someone to look after your mom. One day you expect someone to look after you. What makes it okay for you to be okay with looking after a different race than yours, but you can't look after your own race? Would you do live-in work if it was a Nigerian woman? Never, no. So it's these things we are taught, because remember, we grew up playing with black dolls. We grew up playing with white dolls.
Yeah.
We grow up being conditioned to take care of this race. We grow up looking up to a white god. So nothing white can go wrong. So I'm like, you are a Black woman or you are a Black man, but you are telling me that you would never take care of a sick Black man, but you are happy to take care of someone of a different race. Do you see how conditioned we are? Yeah. There's so much unlearning. More than the learning, we have to do a lot of unlearning.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, you mentioned imposter syndrome, which I think is a big one. And I found myself victim of that on many occasions. I mean, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, you mentioned imposter syndrome, which I think is a big one. And I found myself victim of that on many occasions. I mean, before I became a comedian, and whilst I was a comedian, I used to work in media. For many years, I worked in media. I was head of direct sales for Mirror Group newspapers, and then EMAP, so magazines like FHM, Heat, Closer, etc. So, you know, it was a good job. But I know within that, there's always this feeling of, I'm sort of getting away with it. Do you know what I mean? There was always this not good enough. I've just got, I'm a cheeky chappy, you know, I can get in, people like me. And there was always that feeling that, you know, I'm not actually worthy of the job. I've just managed to sort of, because I'm quite likable, I've got in there. You know what I mean? So there was definitely an imposter syndrome. Yeah, I definitely felt that for whatever reason.
It is so true, because I see it even within comedy. You see very good Black comics who are scared to go on tour. Because they don't feel worthy. They don't feel people are actually going to buy tickets to come and see them. Even nowadays, people will look at numbers on social media. You'll find a Black comic with 100,000 followers, still scared to go on tour. But a white comic with 600 followers is going on tour.
That's interesting, because funnily enough, that's very interesting to me, because probably the only area where I don't feel the imposter syndrome is comedy. So weirdly, with it, the only thing that stops me going on tour as a comedian actually isn't the colour of my skin at all. That bit I'm really confident about. Actually isn't the colour of my skin at all. That bit I'm really confident about. The only thing that stops it is my lack of confidence in my own ability, which sounds mad, I know, because obviously I've been a comedian a long time.
That's still imposter syndrome. Because even though you know you are good at this, but you still think you're not good enough to go on tour, because you know you're good at this. And the good thing with comedy is that the response is there and then. For example, that hit we did together. Even if neither of us had gone through, you still know that even if they didn't vote for you, but it wasn't because you are not funny. That's the nice thing about comedy.
yeah, absolutely, yeah, absolutely. It's the one thing, it's a sort of area of sanctuary, if you like, and I guess that kind of brings me back to my upbringing. Actually, I don't know. Do you want to talk about? You want to talk about
Yes,
that?
please.
Yeah.
Yes,
So,
please.
funnily enough, by as chance would have it, last night there was a documentary called "White Nanny, Black Child," which focused around Nigerians actually who came over in the 60s and fostered their children out, so foster homes or whatever. Now, this is my story. So, my parents are actually Ghanaian, but same principle. So, when I was, I don't know, maybe 18 months, too, I'm not sure, my parents took me to a village in Essex and left me with a white couple, an elderly white couple. I mean, they must have been about 50 at the time.
Were you born in Ghana?
No, no,
You
no.
were born in England.
Yes,
Okay.
yeah. So we started out in Battersea or Chiswick. So we started out in West London. I think we lived in a bedsit. So the living conditions weren't fantastic. But anyway, so they fostered me out. Now, I had a wonderful upbringing. I did. I had a wonderful upbringing. I must say that. In spite of my foster mother, in particular, not so much my foster father, my foster mother. I believe she loved me. However, I don't think she showed it in the right way. I don't think she knew how to show love in the right way. She was very possessive of me. I realise now, obviously, things you don't realise as a kid, but I realise now that she was not greatly educated. And they were quite poor. You know, what the resentment I had when, because I used to see my parents and my sister once a month. So once a month they would come and visit. Summer holidays and Christmas, I would go to London to stay with my parents. I loved my sister dearly. My sister and I were very close. So leaving her was a massive thing, massive wrench. So that was sad. But it was my norm. So I didn't really question it. That was my norm. My foster parents I referred to as aunt and uncle because I knew who my mum and dad was. They weren't my mum and dad. The only thing, the resentment really for me was, weirdly, my understanding was the reason I'd been fostered was because of the environment in which we lived. So we're in a bedsit. There were four of us in a bedsit. Wasn't conducive to the healthy upbringing of a child. But then my parents moved to quite a nice place in Greenwich, relatively speaking, quite a nice house. Whereas the house I grew up in was a 2 up, 2 down cottage with no bathroom. And this is England we're talking about, bearing in mind. No bathroom. A bath was a tin tub on a hook on a wall outside that I would fill up in the kitchen sink. There was no central heating. There was one fire in the living room, which was a coal fire. So there's no central heating at all. The toilet was outside, and the pair of them used to smoke. I don't know how many cigarettes a day, but I'm going to say a packet of 20 cigarettes between them a day, easily. So this room I was in was damp. It was smoky. It was cold in the winter. I have a bad chest. I was quite a good footballer, but my lungs don't expand properly, so I couldn't make. I don't have the stamina for that. So I have a little. My resentment isn't actually about so much being fostered. Some would say abandoned. I don't call it abandoned, but my resentment is more the fact that, why did you put me with these in this environment? You put me in a worse environment than you were in. Do you know what I mean? So they didn't like. It wasn't they fostered to put me in a better place. If anything, I was in a worse place. I mean, there's no way in this day and age it would ever got past the authorities. No way. You know what I mean? There's no way with a kid, they would never allow it in this day and age. So that was kind of my start, which is why when you were asking me the questions, some of them I just couldn't answer simply because things, for example, you were saying, yeah, your black hero, your favorite black invention, blah blah blah. Whilst yeah, I can answer them, but I am choosing to answer them rather than them coming to me naturally, if that makes sense. Because growing up, I didn't see any of that. You know what I mean? Nothing. I basically my education of black things was the same as every other white kid's education of black things, which is virtually zero.
That is so important to hear because, like I said, people assume that black people are the same everywhere, just like people assume that black British, black American, same thing, which is not. So it's so important to hear those stories so that we don't keep getting forced to believe in things or to because now if you have to go and Google a black hero, they are not your hero, but it's so easy to find one and just to get away, like to pass an exam. But it's so important to be honest. And when it comes to your parents sending you, it reminds me of how many people I see assuming that white people are better just because of the skin of their color. Even at immigration, I could go with you from England, born and bred in England, very successful in your career. I just ask you to not speak, because once you speak, they'll see that you are English. And I'll take a white person, homeless white person from Zimbabwe. If I go to immigration in South Africa or any African country, you'll be treated differently by black immigration officers. They'll be like, welcome home, sir, to him. But to you, they will question a lot of things before they let you in a black country. Yeah. Because we tend to assume that white people are in a better position. They do better than us. When a lot of people, if I were to go to my friends with a white guy, they'll immediately assume that I've made it in life. I'm so lucky. I'm good. As if they don't beat up their women, they don't cheat, they don't lie, they don't get broke. And if I came with the richest Nigerian, if I came with the richest Nigerian ever, and the richest black African is Nigerian, by the way. So my friends would think, scammer.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
He has a wife at home. He's going to cheat on you. You know, it's just a condition that's why I believe we need to unlearn. Yeah. Because I don't know how we got to be conditioned like this, but that's just our thinking.
And I think we just only ever get to see the worst. You know, they say you're as strong as your weakest link, and I think we only ever get to see the worst of us. It's funny because I was talking to a guy where I used to work, and we were talking about how black boys get into the shit they get into, and I was saying, well, if you think of me, I said, right, take me as an example. Then you take another black guy who lives around the corner, right? So I get up at 6. Back then, we'd get up at 6 o'clock in the morning, get washed up, whatever. Go down the road. This guy sees you going down the road. Get on a train in 7 o'clock. Loads of people, thousands of people on the train. You know what London's like, right? Get off the train, go to work. I'm in work at 9 o'clock. 10, 11 hours later, said guy sees me coming back, trudging up off the train with all those people going home. He sees me in my car, which at the time would have been just a reasonable family car, quite a nice car, but a family car, whatever. You know, dressed okay. I dress okay, reasonable, whatever. Then there's another guy, a black guy, and he doesn't get up at 6 o'clock in the morning. He gets up whenever he gets up, right? He gets into his convertible car, got the gold, you know. He's got maybe one girl, he's got maybe two girls, he's got maybe three girls. You know, he's got this, he's got everything. You know, apparently he's got everything. So if you're this young boy, impressionable young boy, and you see me and you see him, who is your role model? You know, if you don't know any better, who do you think? You think, well, hang on a minute, this idiot.
It's the one who wakes up when they want to wake up. They get up when they want to get up. And they're wearing a gold chain. You know why? Because those are the black heroes we are fed on TV. Sometimes they show the worst of us, even in shows. Because when I first came here, also one thing I noticed, I am not saying anything about anyone. I'm not saying anybody doesn't deserve the job they have. But coming from South Africa, when you look at TV presenters, and in South Africa, our TV system is still segregated because you have a TV channel for black people, TV channel for white people, you know, and even within black people, because we have 12 languages. Yeah. So you may have someone who's a newsreader in one language, a newsreader in another language will be someone else. Breakfast shows, we have our breakfast show in our language. You know, it's very it's complicated, but yeah. It's not as straightforward as a country that speaks one language like here. But whenever you turn on TV, it's always the most beautiful black women. The body is always in shape. Yeah. But then I came here, I noticed they do that with white women, but with black women, they just put anyone.
Yes. Oh God, this. Oh God.
Show our beautiful ones as well. Show the ones that are in shape.
Yeah, I wish my sister was sitting here now because my little sister set up a company called Pure Obsidian, right? And she set this company up specifically for that reason. She was tired, as you say. Hey, we're not saying that everyone doesn't deserve that. We're not saying that. But what we're saying is going back to what people see. at- So yeah, you turn on the telly, as you say, and it would seem that every black woman you see, um, just not in shape, basically, not in shape, right? And it was like, why is this every
They nothing,
right?
and they never the brightest crayon in the pack. That's why you still, in this day and age, you still find boy people who say you're smarter than the rest of them. But if they did put our smart ones out there, they would know that we are smart as a people.
It's almost as though, you know, it's almost as though it's deliberate for me. I sometimes think, are you doing that on purpose so that, yeah, okay, so we'll let you have this position, we'll let you be on the screen, but I'm sorry, we're not having we'll have you who looks like that. This is what we're going to show of you. This is what we're going to show of you.
At the same with black men, people say, "Oh, but black men are now getting opportunities on television." But I'm like, I'm not homophobic in any way, but stop putting just the gay ones.
Just the gay ones, yeah. Oh
Can
God, I
straight
wish.
black men also get opportunities?
Just the gay ones, yeah. Oh God, I wish. Every time, every time there's you've got a group of people, and I so wish you could sit in my living room with my family because we have this thing. And as you say, every time, so there'll be black people come on, and there'll be like a really out of shape black woman. Then the black guy will come on, and I turn to my wife and my sister, I say, I bet he's the gay one. And sure enough, it's like, yeah, you can have it, but sorry, you're gonna have to be gay. You will have a black baby, you've got to be gay. We'll have a black woman, she's got to be massive. We got, yeah, absolutely that. And yeah, sometimes, yes, but not every time. And I bet you, if I literally sat and it drives me nuts.
One of the reasons that attracted me to doing stand-up comedy, my background is in law. And I've always loved stand-up comedy. Before I did my law degree, I studied drama, so I've always been into performing arts. I was just tired of not being able to support my black sisters because they either cursing,
Yeah,
very ghetto,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
making fun of their own people and praising their white husband. Those were the black comics I saw on TV all the time.
yeah.
And I was like, I'm tired. That's not our representation. We don't only have ghetto. Like,
No,
it's like, give other people an opportunity. That's a minority
yeah,
of us. But why are they the only people I'm seeing on
yeah,
television?
yeah, yeah, absolutely. Because the other races don't show those, do they? You think about it, you don't see.
Every punchline is a curse word. I fucking went to a fucking store to buy a fucking loaf of bread. I'm like, that's not comedy.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No,
We
absolutely.
don't have to be ghetto to be
Yeah.
funny.
No, I'm so on board. I just wish, as we sort of said at the outset, for me, what's important about this is the children. What's important about this is the future. And as I was saying at the outset, everybody needs to see all the representation, right? So, yeah, okay, yeah, show a black gay guy, for example. But for every black gay guy you show, you should surely be showing 10 straight black guys, right? For every out of shape black woman, you should be showing 10 in shape. I'm not talking about perfect. I'm talking about the same sort of percentage you see amongst white people, right? Because as you say, presenters, whatever, whatever, they're all always like that, and they're like this. You know what I mean? They're always a certain way, and the other ones just don't get the jobs, right? And yet it's almost as though, well, you've got more chance if you're black of getting that role if you are out of shape or gay or whatever. And that's just, whilst I don't begrudge those people their opportunity, it would seem to me people are missing out on it for not being part of those groups.
Most of our TV stars or Hollywood stars will be black Americans in terms
Hmm.
of race. None of them made it without having to act a part where they were wearing a woman's dress.
Hmm.
It was like the rite of passage.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Anyway,
yeah.
I did ask our viewers to send some questions that they would like to know from you. So I will be asking you a few. And the first one is one thing you wish you were taught in school.
Probably what we were talking about, really. I think history. Yeah, right. So the fact that we invented things, the fact that black people just did other things other than being enslaved and entertaining. I think it would be nice to know that we were inventors, we were this, we that, we were soldiers. The wars we fought in. Yeah, so that I think, also actually getting away from the whole race thing for a minute, even more so, how to look after money. That should be part of the syllabus. How to look after money, right? That's one thing as children we're not taught, and I think that is so important because if you don't have generational wealth, if you have parents who start with nothing, then how do you know what to do with money, really? You know what I mean? Whereas, my friends' parents, they'd sort of, they'd get their money, they'd maybe save a bit, maybe they'd put it in a bond, or I don't know, whatever these people. Maybe when they get more money, put it into property. We know that now, but I didn't know that growing up, and that would have been essential, I think. So yeah, so Black history, yes, but how to look after money is the big thing.
I don't think they're going to be teaching children about money anytime soon because it will make it difficult for rich people to continue being rich.
Well, that's the thing.
Because if you look after your money, we will all retire at 40.
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
if you look back at the money I've wasted, I should have retired by now.
So right, yeah. Well, I mean, so right, yeah. Well, I mean, the model relies on the rich getting richer and the poor getting poorer.
If I had invested my money right, my money would be looking after me right now. But I'm still at my age, still chasing invoices before I can pay my bills. One lie you were told about Africa.
Probably the only thing was just the size of it. I think probably as a child growing up, thinking that it was a country, and that it was much smaller than it actually is, and that everybody who came from there is the same person effectively, and there isn't the lack of diversity that exists within that massive continent. I think is probably the difference between east, west, north, south. For example, the fact that you've got the Arabic nations in the north, who try to deny their Africanness. The difference between the west, the south, as you know, the east. So yeah, I think that. So the lie, yes, is that I think that Africa is just all the same. I think that would be my answer to that. Yeah.
Did you think we all had flies on our faces?
Did I think? No. Um, no. I think I was aware that the flies are in hot countries. That's why there are lots of flies around because there are a lot of hot countries, and the money spent on the sanitation and everything else isn't great. Therefore, flies exist, right? So I think I was aware of that. You know what I mean? And yeah, yeah,
Okay, let me share you a story. I used to work when I was very young, I used to work as an actress, and sometimes would be hired to do those Save the Child, those,
yeah,
let me not name any organization, but those adverts. They
yeah.
would put jam on our face to attract the flies.
No, mind you, again, I suppose they would, yeah. But I'd never thought of that. But that's because funnily enough, I do a joke about that. I used to.
Because, like,
Funny enough,
there's
I
a
do a joke about
director, you can always say, cut, remove the fly, and then shoot again. But they made sure that the flies come and stay there because it was part of selling the poverty thing.
yeah.
Having grown up in Britain, who's the most inspirational Black British person for you?
Mm. Well, that's a tough one. I'm going to say Sir Trevor McDonald. And the reason I picked Trevor McDonald is simply because, and I say this as someone who is an entertainer, my immediate thoughts are of entertainers. So I was a footballer. I'm a big football fan. So immediately my thoughts turn to footballers in particular. I am now a comedian, obviously, so I think of entertainers, I think of actors, and I just like the idea that there is someone out there who is at the very top of his tree. Very, very top. He's a man who's so highly respected and has been doing it for a long, long time. And he's not. Well, yeah, really, he's not an entertainer, is he? And he's not. He's just a normal guy, right? He was a normal guy who just worked hard in a time when it would have been harder, and got to a point where he's probably the most recognisable face and known name in his field. So, yeah, Sir Trevor McDonald for me.
That's a good one. And he has no scandals, which is nice.
No, which is nice, yeah, yeah.
Never slapped anyone, never slept with anyone against their will. And that last one was going to be, how do you celebrate Black History Month? But
Well, you kind of know what I'm going to say about this. Yeah, yeah. Same as I celebrate every month. But because the question's been asked, I kind of feel as though we can all change, right? And we can all do better. And so I think maybe I'm going to make an effort. So I haven't got an answer, but maybe simply because that question's been asked, I'm going to make an effort to do something. I don't know what. Maybe give something, or I don't know what yet. But just make it to do something at least for Black History Month. Because at the end of the day,
you could always financially support a Black orphan, and that
yeah,
Black orphan is me.
yeah, yeah. you. Yeah, I'll let you know. I'll tell you what. When you've won the British Comedian of the Year, come and say that again.
And I really do hope one of us gets it.
It'd be nice, wouldn't it?
It will be nice.
Yeah.
It will be nice. What we always do is go and visit people's Instagram and take a few photos and ask you about them. But I noticed your Instagram, no private life.
No private life.
All the videos. I couldn't find anything other than your videos. It's all comedy.
Oh, I see. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. I'd happily. I'll tell you why. It's only because that's how I use Instagram. I was quite a late adopter of Instagram, and it's actually TikTok I use much more. So all those videos on Instagram were first shot on TikTok. So I think first sort of in terms of personal stuff that I put out there, well, I guess I kind of don't really, and it's not deliberately. I just only put entertain. Yeah, I seek to make people laugh rather than, I don't know, take a picture of my dinner on my day out in the park. Do you know what I mean? You'll find bits of it.
Because with me, I'm privately public. Like you'll see a photo of me at the airport. You won't know who I'm going with, but you can see I'm at the airport, Whereas with you, it's all comedy, pure comedy, nothing else.
Do you know? I've never even thought. It's not deliberate at all because actually, I'm really not private at all. I over what's the word? Overshare. I'm very open about my private life. So I didn't even think that. Obviously, I'm not online. So yeah, so it's not deliberate. I just never thought of using it as a vehicle for that. Do you know, look, hey, look what I'm doing. I've never, yeah, it's interesting.
But we have a very strong team of private investigators. So we did manage to get some photos. And we would like you to tell us the story behind these photos, who's in the photo, and if you can remember what was happening here.
Oh, well, I remember what's happening. I certainly wasn't. So that's my mum and dad uh, getting married in 1963, I think. So yeah, so my dad's no longer with us. My mum still is. My mum is now 82, I think. And my dad, like I said, my dad's no longer with us. He left us in 2010. So yeah, they are the reason for me and why I'm here.
And you look so much like your dad.
They say that, yeah, yeah. People say that.
And who this?
This is so that's me when I was about 2 inches shorter than I am now. Um, where that was, I'm not certain. Whether I think I was obviously that was before I was fostered. I guess it must have been. So I'd have been in London somewhere. Who knows? But that was me, and I was, as you see, an early boxer. You can see I was adopting the pose. Well, at me again. So this is Tolsbury. So I was fostered by now. So this is outside the house that I grew up in. I wish there was more of that picture. You could see just how small the house is. But yeah, that's me in my favourite little uniform and a pipe. It would seem, yeah, early pipe smoker.
Do you still have a relationship with your foster parents?
No, God, no. I think my foster mum died. Yeah, so she died. My foster dad died in 1982, and my foster mum died in 1985. So I was still in the house. I still lived there when they both died. Actually, yeah, yeah. But then she was an inc- God. I could tell you so much about this woman. I think as I said at the outset, she had a lot of love for me, but didn't quite know how to show it. She was quite a cruel woman. She had the power in the household, and she was quite a cruel woman. If I gave love to anyone else, she would knock them down. She would say horrible things about my mother. If I had a best friend, she would say horrible things about my best friend. When I got a little bit older and got girlfriends, she would say horrible things about them. Me and my sister were really close, so she hated my sister. She had a really nasty streak.
But you know what? I'm not saying it's nice what you're saying, like or what she did. I've noticed that not once have you said she was racist,
No,
which
God, no.
also enforces that people can be bad just because they are bad as people,
Yeah.
not necessarily because they are racist. And she was nasty to everyone.
Yes, she was. Yeah, yeah. Oh, her feelings, her behaviour was in no way race led at all. She was just if she was a nasty person, or when she was a nasty person, that was indiscriminately nasty. She was an equal opportunities hater.
Equal opportunities. And also, back then, we were not diagnosing people.
True, yeah, yeah.
She probably had the bipolar, or
She had the lot.
maybe was going through depression.
Yeah,
They saw maybe she herself needed help.
yeah, yeah.
Who this?
So this is my grandma. So this is my mum's mum, who I only met once. I've been to Ghana twice, and I met this lady once. So yeah, I can't tell you much about her other than without her, there would be no me. So these are my sisters, so who I have loads of love for. So this is my big sister Margaret, and this is my little sister Joy. This where we are is the recreation ground. So the village I grew up in, we had one little park which we called the recreation ground, and this is the place I love. This is where I played my football. Everything happened there, and yeah. And then my sister, my little sister, now lives about 5 miles from me. She has 4 children and is married. My big sister lives in Kent, also has 4 children and is married. So we've all done pretty well actually.
Oh, that's nice. It's nice that you're still in touch with your family.
Oh, absolutely, yeah, yeah,
Because some I know a few people who were either adopted or fostered that just lost touch with their biological families.
yeah, yeah.
So it was nice that you kept relationships with both
Yeah.
sides of your family.
It's very important to us.
We choose questions at random. It's basically to see if it's called you are black if, or you are black when. But I don't think you're gonna get any of these answers.
Well, you never know. I'm intrigued. Try me. No, yeah, no, yeah, no, absolutely. I'm still familiar with that. Yeah, I spent enough time with my family to be very familiar with that. Yeah, you know someone with a fake British accent. No, that I'm not familiar with. No, I'm not, no, no, I've never. No, 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 it's not something I've encountered. You're not actually related to us. Yes, yes. Yes, I'm very familiar with this. But to the point where when I was a sort of younger man and I was sort of, doing what young men do, and we'd have family functions, and I would always say to the girls, if I fancied one of them, I would always say, "Are you really my cousin?" I mean, I'm like, I'd want evidence that she was actually my cousin. I think you fact travel, I know yours. Yeah, no, not so much because I've never travelled with really travelling with my family. But I've seen my mum. Having said that, when I took my mum to the airport with tons of luggage, and yeah, and I'm like, "Well, you don't own this much stuff, mum." You know what I mean? So get rid of all these other people's shit. Grandma always sneak in that cash when she visits. Do you know what? Funnily, I mean, with me, it's not grandma so much, but I can say it of aunties and other relatives. You know what I mean? Who kind of done that. So yeah. So yeah, most of those things I yeah, I can relate to on one level, which I'm glad actually. I'm glad about. I feel blacker as a result.
And the last part, the very, very last part, as things you should never say to a black person.
Yeah. Okay. Right. So many.
Things you will
So
never
many.
say to to a black judge in court.
Even though so to black touching, I can't imagine. Nice tan. Where you really from? What I used to get as a child, are your parents black? Was the kids would say, "Are your parents black?" I know. Yeah. Yeah. I know.
Are your parents black? At some point, I wanted to write a play. I do content, so I do write plays and skits and things. I wanted to write a play where instead of not knowing whether you're having a boy
Hmm.
or a girl, you don't know whether you're having an Asian, an African, and you know
Oh, no. What a game of Russian roulette that would be.
that would be so nice, though.
I don't know how much time we've got left, but one thing you won't know about me, I presume, is that I write poetry. You don't know that, right? I presume you don't know that. Yeah, and I wrote a poem. I've printed it off because I wanted to share it with you about fostering uh, because of the. And do you mind if I can I share it with you? Is that okay? Do you mind if I can I share
Oh,
it with you? Is
please,
that
please.
okay? Yeah, yeah. Okay. So it's important. Oh, I say it's important because Fostering and Adoption Month comes up soon as well, or week. Anyway, okay, I think it's in November. But anyway, so it's in different parts. So it's written from the point of view of different people. Okay, so this is part one. So there goes. I believe that if they could, people would choose to do good. If you could make someone smile 24 hours a day, you would, wouldn't you? You'd somehow find a way. It's impossible, of course, perpetual happiness is something we can only dream of, but we all try our best. And the way we begin our journey so often dictates our brothers, sisters, family, our partners, and our mates how the rest of life will be, but it needn't necessarily. If a person radiates the love, the minimum they'd expect, and offers care and sanctuary and always to protect, they can maybe change the course of a life that otherwise might veer along an unwanted path in many people's eyes. Blood is thicker than water, and this we all agree. But I also think we share one gene and therefore blood, ultimately. Part two. And this is me as a child looking out. I looked up and I saw faces, none were like mine. I'd seen these faces before, so it was fine, but strange nonetheless to see these people standing over me. Friendly, kind, and meaning well, though at first I couldn't tell what they were doing there, for of course I was unaware that this was my new home. I'd been left there all alone. Looking back, did I even know what was going on? I was 2.5 years old, and my family had gone. Gone? No, of course they'll be back. They have not gone far away. They'll be back in a minute. They will, won't they? No, little boy, they're not coming back. Not for a while at least. This is your new family now, so best you make your peace. You've made your bed, now lie in it. But hang on, I didn't make it. It doesn't matter anymore. Here's your medicine, now take it. How can a 2-year-old express exactly what they feel? Tears simply are not enough, and who knows if they're real. I can't tell you how it felt. I really can't remember. I just know that they left in March, and I saw them the next September. Part 3. Now, I like being different, but then I just longed to be the same. I didn't want a different face or a funny sounding name. I just wanted to blend in, just to melt into the crowd, and not to hear the sniggers when my name was read out loud. I wanted to see my sister, not just for a day, and I wanted her to be left alone so she would want to stay. But we don't always get what we want. That's a good lesson I learned. But some good things you just deserve, but don't always have to be earned. Visit to homes were precious, a chance for me to be back with my sisters, mum and dad, my genetic family. The visits were over all too soon, and I felt sadness like never before. I saw the rape fields from the train and not gardens anymore. See, what to some would seem like bliss was anything but to me, for it meant a return to a home that wasn't mine, you see. But they say a village can raise a child, and this I believe to this day, is why my story's a happy one and ended up this way. See, we do get choices along life's route, more perhaps than people know. We reach junctions in the road and decide which way to go. I chose to accept the love that the strangers offered me, rather than turn my back and make mine a tragedy. Part 4. There were many moments of sadness, but 20 times more the glee. It doesn't always turn out that way, we know from history. But my story is a successful one, I've said many times before, and perhaps we only hear the bad, but there are so many more, who looked out at a different face, a different colour, creed or race, and saw his face smiling back that made them feel secure. Because no one really has the key or knows the perfect remedy, but I think we should all believe that true love will endure. That's it. That's it. So that's fostering.
Is it published?
No, funnily enough, so in 2020 during COVID, I used to have a show every day on Facebook, and every day I would write a new poem. And that was one of them, and I called it the Coronaverses. So my plan, dream, intention was to put them in a book. So no is the answer, but I keep intent. I don't. I'm one of these people. I have loads of ideas and doesn't do anything.
I think you should put them in a book because how many children are fostered just in the UK alone? Would love to hear from someone who's gone through the feelings they are going through, the experience they are going through. Just like we are saying with Black history, it's nice when you have people that have done it and succeeded, and you're like, this too is okay. I'm not the only one because it must be so difficult to feel different.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, yeah, yeah. That I think that was a big thing, as I mentioned there in part 2 of that, is all you want to do is be the same. When you sort of you see the picture, the school picture, and everyone's different, you just long to blend in.
As young people would say, your pen is thick. Your pen ability is thick. Yeah, that was beautiful.
Thank
I
you.
think you should put it in a book.
Yeah, I should. I should just do it, but.
Or at least record it and put it out there on as like record it proper and put it on social media because it needs to reach people.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I should. You're right. Hmm. Yeah, maybe I'll make a point on the back of that the show that was on last night. Maybe I should do that actually and link it maybe to the show. Yeah, that's a good idea. I should do that.
Ah, thank you so much. Thank you. This has been so wonderful. I got to know you better. I
I
got
know.
to learn a lot. And what I like is how your story is so different.
Hmm.
Because those stories are important so that people don't assume that
Yeah,
every Black person is the same,
yeah, yeah.
that every
Absolutely.
Black person has the same story to tell.
Hmm. No, absolutely.
That is so lovely. It's like
Hmm.
when people see me with another black person and we say we're both from South Africa. And they're like, but why are you speaking English? Because sometimes we don't speak the same language and we are from the same country.
Yeah, sure.
So it's nice. I think it's important for people to know that not every black person has the same black experience. Not every black person is the same. And black people in Britain did not just start when we, as the new Africans who come here, started coming. People have been here. People have been getting born in the UK.
Absolutely. Yeah, yeah. The previous the Romans, the Black Roman, the Septimus Maximus. Well, I can't remember his name, but
Yeah, it's so important to know that. And not every black person is an illegal immigrant. Not every black person comes here to steal your job. Some were born here. Some of us were not born here, but we did not come to steal your jobs. We came here for the unemployment benefits. So don't assume we're all the same. We are not all the same. So, Gerry, having been brought up in the UK, you are more British. You are British, not even more British than African, because you didn't grow up in Africa. You didn't live in Africa. Do you ever come across black people that think you act like a clever black, or that think you are denying your blackness or your Africanness?
A lot online, not so much in the flesh, but certainly online. I mean, I've done shows online, so I did TikTok. I used to do Bigo online, and a lot of I wouldn't call it aggression, but you can tell they immediately take a dislike to me because they think I'm putting on these airs and graces. They don't realise I'm just being me. They assume I'm being this way, maybe talking this way to appeal to my white masters. You know what I mean? Not realising that actually, no, this is 100% me, and we are, as I've told many people on many occasions, products of our environment. I talk this way because I grew up with a load of people who talked this way. So yes, quite a bit. So I'm trying not to lean. Sorry, go.
What's the best way to deal with that?
Honesty and authenticity, really, and put them in their place, because people who say that, I don't consider to be intellectually my equal, quite frankly. You know what I mean? If you don't realise that, then you need educating. So I'm always polite about it, but I will educate them. I will say to them, okay, let's use I use different examples of people that don't behave or sound the way they look like they should behave or sound. I don't know. You get loads of examples when you get the white kids who who speak like that and speak like that, and people say, "Oh, why is he talking black?" And I say, "He's not talking black. He's talking the way people talk on the South London estate he grew up in." That's not always the case. I know there's kids all over now who talk like that. But again, what people forget is that we all do that anyway to a point. What people don't realise is that you get pop culture, you get youth culture. There are certain things we adopted as children that, I don't know, the way we look, think the way when the punk in the 70s, when punk was about, kids went around dressing and behaving in a certain way. Mods, rockers, youth culture is a lot to do with it. And the culture of the streets is popular youth culture nowadays. So that's why kids talk that way. And so I just try and educate people and get them to think of things that they otherwise haven't, because it's very easy to jump to conclusions based on one thing. But it only takes a few words to educate people. If they refuse to accept that, that's up to them. But at least I've told them.
Yep, that's very interesting. And before I let you go, what advice do you have for black people who think they don't deserve certain things because of being black people with imposter syndrome in particular?
Okay. Well, the one good thing I think about my upbringing is that I will go anywhere. My advice is, this is one world. This is one world, right? As I say, whether you believe in God, whatever you believe in, we were all put here. This is our world. It's not your world, it's my world. It's our world. And no one can tell you where to go. I mean, all right, obviously, you can't walk into anyone's house, obviously. You know what I mean? But for the most part, there's nowhere you can't go. Don't enslave yourselves. This is my advice. Don't let the sins of the past be your own sins, right? Because I believe that some people enslave themselves. We have this feeling that's not for us. That's not for, no, everything's for us. Everything that's for everyone else is for us. So never think that it's not for you. You go there. And also, I would also say, particularly to the young people, there are laws of every land. There are ways to behave in every land, regardless of what you look like, right? Make sure that you are adhering to the laws of said land, whatever it might be. For example, let's break it. If you went to someone's house and they had a cream carpet and they said, would you mind taking off your shoes? You would take off your shoes, right? You wouldn't object to that. You understand why, and you would take off your shoes. They're not asking you to take off your shoes for any reason. There's no one else sitting in the room with shoes on, and you're being asked to take your shoes off because of you, the way you look. Do you understand where I'm going with this? You know what I'm saying?
It's dirty, because I've been to places where you're like, now I'm gonna have to go home and wash my feet, but you take off your shoes.
Yeah. Yes, yeah. But you know what I mean, right? The point is, there are rules, there are laws, whether we like them or not. So, adhere to those before assuming that the reason you've been excluded, put upon, is because you look different from them. If you've adhered to those rules and it happens, then you have a case, right? And they have a case to answer. But some people not. I mean, there was that thing recently. I don't know if you saw it, the girl in the hair shop. Have you seen this? You saw?
Yeah.
And I don't know what the story is. We don't know what the story is, right? But what I didn't think, personally, I didn't think, oh, that Asian man has grabbed hold of that woman for no reason. That isn't what I thought. I could be wrong. I also could be wrong in thinking that she was stealing the hair and he was trying to stop her stealing. I don't know which one is true, but the point is, I didn't make any assumptions. This is my point. I certainly didn't assume that this Asian guy who makes his business from serving black people was attacking this black woman because she is a black woman. That I didn't assume. You may have, I don't know. Other people may have.
For me, that video made me angry in different ways and different levels. Number one, I was upset to see any man of any race doing that to any woman of any race. It was just wrong, because if he has shoplifted, you call the police. There are laws. That's why they are there. If you wouldn't do that at Marks and Spencer's, so why are you doing it in your shop? Call the police. I don't know the background of the story, and there are always three sides to every story, so we will never know which one is right.
Yeah.
And also upset me in thinking that black people, open your own hair shops. Why is your culture being of profit to other cultures?
Well, this is another story, isn't it? This is a whole.
I'm not saying that would not happen if it was a black shop. It could have been a black worker or owner in a black-owned shop who would have done the same thing, because it wasn't inventing beating up a woman. We've seen it before. It's not like it came with a new invention. But it made me so upset that here you are making this a racial statement, but where are you with your own black shops?
Yeah.
Not the people who go to the same Indian shops, buy, and want to come back and sell to us at triple the price and say support black business.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Go to China, go to India, go to the source, go and get the stuff and open the shop, because that's the problem with supporting black business.
Yes.
People will say don't support white people, but I'll go to Sainsbury's, buy the potatoes, and want to sell them to you for 3 times the price and say support black business.
Yeah, absolutely.
So for me, that's my main thing, like open your own hair shops.
Yeah. No. I mean, that's another story for another day. That's a massive issue, isn't it, that we face, that we talk about. We all talk about it. But I don't know. I don't know what the answer to that is. We all say it, we all talk about it, but no one really, and when anyone tries to do anything around it, it seldom seems to work. I don't know. Wish I knew the answer to that one.
Yeah, this has been so interesting. We're supposed to do this for 45 minutes to an hour, and we've done an hour and a half.
Oh, wow. Well, Oh, it has. It has. It's been a real pleasure. Real pleasure.
That's longer than an Edinburgh solo show.
Yeah, good point. Maybe this should be the show. This is it. This is the show, right?
And thank you so much, Gerry. Really, really appreciate you spending your time with us. It's been so insightful. And where do we find you? Where do we follow you? Don't give us your home address. We don't want to follow you home. We want to follow you on social.
Mostly it's my full name. I mean, it's either you'll find me, just use my full, because it's quite a rare name. Just use my full name. You'll find me on Instagram, TikTok, Face, anywhere. Just use my full name. Or if it's purely comedy, my full name will find there anyway. But I just use the initial. So Gerry, just as you know, just the initial. So either my full name or Gerry Kyei, just the initial. You'll find me on any of the platforms. The best place to look is it's ent24.com. So it's ENTS as in entertainment, ent24.com. Then you search my name and my whole calendar. I need to update it actually, but that's my calendar. So ent24.com. Search for me and you'll find my calendar of events there.
Thank you so much. Really, really
Thanks.
appreciate it. And
Much love.
guys, please do not forget to subscribe, like, share the video, leave us all your comments, questions, everything, and let us follow Gerry and go to his social media platforms so that he knows that we did see the video. Thank you so much.
Cheers, Owen.
Thank you.